he's real to me. Real to me. Yes, he's real to me. Real to me. He's so real. He's so real. Oh, see, he talks to me and I talk to him. He's everywhere and he's all I need. He is so real, 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 real. He's alive and well in me. Oh, I can call on him and he answers. Yes, he's never left me alone. I'm in his hands. Yeah, 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 yeah. He's real. Oh, he's so real. Oh, he's so real. Yes, he's so real. I've tried him for myself and I found him to be, yeah, very present help me. Yeah, my God is real. My God is real. He is so real. He is so real. He is so real. Yes, he is. Oh, he is real. Face to face we stand, with my life within your hands, looking past what was to what's ahead. Face to face we stand, heart to heart we breathe and say, you have taken my place, now abiding is what I do. Let your glory run out, out, out. Let your fire burn out, out, out. Let your freedom resound, sound, sound over me again. You remind me daily, you delight in me. You delight in me. Oh, daily, you delight in me. You remind me daily, you delight in me. You delight in me. Oh, daily, you delight in me. You remind me. Letting down the nets, casting all my works on you, launching deep until there's no more me but you. A living sacrifice, cause my ways to shine your light, bringing honor to the power of your name. Let your glory run out, out, out. Let your fire burn out, out, out. Let your freedom ring sound, sound, sound over me again. Let your glory run out, out, out. Let your fire burn out, out, out. Let your freedom ring sound, sound, sound over me again. You remind me daily, you delight in me. You delight in me. Oh, daily, you delight in me. You remind me daily, you delight in me. your glory run out, out, out. Let your fire burn out, out, out. Let your freedom resound, sound, sound over me, yeah. Let your glory run out, out, out. Let your fire burn out, out, out. Let your freedom resound, sound, sound over me, yeah. You remind me daily, you delight in me. You delight in me, oh daily, you delight in me. You remind me daily, you delight in me. You delight in me, oh daily, you delight in me. You remind me. Be strong, be bold, don't feel, don't cry. She needs, he needs, they need, everybody's pulling, trying to keep it all together. But do they really, really know me? I'm not sure that I can manage. Sometimes I feel like I'm flying off the ground, trying to catch my balance, simply scared out my mind. Don't always know which road to take or how long it will be. Is this the end? When giants fall, do they make a sound? Can anyone hear when they hit the ground? When giants fall, do they make a sound? Do they make a sound? love profound. It's the right time, it's the right place. I'm moving forward, not behind me. But it's not all perfect. A workmanship in his hands.
Good morning, Revealing Truth Ministries, family and friends. Happy Thursday. It is Thursday. Happy Thursday. The staff is in the building. Good morning. Good morning. Let them hear you in the virtual building. You can be so loud that they can hear you in the virtual building. Now it's your turn. Go. There we go. And those of you that are in the virtual building, you let us know who you are and that you're with us. You can drop something in the chat, drop an emoji. Good morning. We look forward to seeing you. Glad to have you here for this morning's Deeper Dive session. You know, the Deeper Dive gives us the opportunity to attend to what God has said. We believe when we attend to what God has said, we are most blessed. And that's what we're going for, right? We're not leaving anything on the table. If He's made it available, it's for us. So we're aimed at most blessed. And today we're going to pick up where we left off on Tuesday. Pastor Brian is with us in the Stability Studio. Good morning, Pastor B.
Good morning, Pastor Lamar.
Yes. And I left Tuesday with the image, and I guess you call it like mental sound. Like I could hear the live audience just go off when you made the point about our faith being, or how we walk out our faith being affected by how we relate to people.
Yeah.
When you drop the example of sitting in the principal's office or sitting in front of your teacher, and the teacher says that, we're going to have to contact your parents.
Right.
And at that moment, everything else that the teacher or the principal says is probably like walk, walk, walk. Because all we're thinking about is what we know is about to happen, right?
And I would like to say shouts out to my parents, right? Mm-hmm. Because as I heard post the Deeper Dive, I had a unique experience growing up.
Yeah.
Right? Even maybe distinguishing between my elder brothers and me and my younger sister.
Wow.
There was a divided line.
Right.
Like if somebody doesn't know a little inside Poe family joke, like me and Crystal were born post-salvation.
Yeah.
Greg and Chris were born pre-salvation.
Right.
So we consider ourselves the new covenant children.
Oh, wow.
And they are the old covenant children. That's a little insides.
Yeah.
Little insides. We were born in the promise, as Pastor Dollar would say. So even in our own household, it's like, okay, you said you that same example,
right,
from their perspective. But the whole point was you knew based on the relationship what was going to happen with that call. Right. You knew, I already know what's going to happen based on how I related to my parents, what's going to happen in this moment.
Right.
And that is the heart of the point. The heart of the point is that our relationship makes so much of sets the context, the best way to put it, sets the context of our expectation from God is based on how our relationships have existed, how they've been formed, how we've seen love in action does so much for how we see God's love towards us.
That's good. That's good.
And all that on top of the fact that how does faith work?
Right.
By love. Well, how do you see love? Becomes the critical point of how you will act out in the faith that you've been given.
That's so good. And that's why, something that's just been said over and over again these last few weeks is you look back at Jesus, right? All roads lead back to Jesus.
Wait, let me put this in here because I hear my mom screaming at you. My daddy's salvation.
Gotcha. Okay.
She was saved.
All right.
She always come back. No, wait, hold up, Brad. Him was the one.
Right. That's good. That's good. But looking back on our relationship with Jesus, looking back on that love is what we're directed to do all throughout the New Testament. And if you want to rightly define love,
Yeah.
then he gave the best example.
Yeah, yeah. And even, in First John, right? I brought it up knowing we was gonna go here, right? If someone says, "I love God," and he hates his brother, he is a liar. For he who does not love his brother, whom he has seen, how can he love God, whom he has not seen? And this commandment I have for him, that he who loves God must love his brother also. Why is that that's definitive for one? Let's just say that. I mean, you don't need much interpretation to understand what is being presented there.
Right.
What is being presented there is a direct correlation between how we relate with others and how we relate to God. And God really drawing a line in the sand. Like, how could you even say that you have this love for me, but you don't have a love for one another? They're one and the same. And it's all because of something that I believe we all understand at this point, that Christianity isn't a religion, it's a relationship.
Absolutely.
And so that's why God is so serious about our relationship to one another, because it's a relationship we have with him. And how we relate to others will impact how we relate to him. The terms and conditions we set in our own relationships, they reflect on the terms and conditions we set on relating to him. They're
good.
one and the same, right?
That's good. So it's renewing our minds to relationship.
Absolutely.
How relationship works, right? That's good. That's good. So I know we're looking forward to getting here.
And to make that definitive, right?
Go ahead.
Look, just in case you miss it, what it's saying in plain text is, how are you saying, I love God, but I hate you? He's like, pause.
Right.
Me and you don't even understand love the same way. That's what God is saying. Like, we don't even see love the same way. Because the nature of my love is unconditional acceptance. I sent Christ to accept y'all unconditionally as you are. How could you even say you know me and hate a person?
Right.
Like, you don't even know me if you have hate for somebody else.
Right. That's good.
This is the deepest dive.
That's good. That's good.
The room went silent, y'all. If you was in the house, the room went silent.
That's
But
good.
it's just the truth.
That's good. Okay. That's good.
And we can go there, Pastor Lamar. Pastor Lamar's gonna let me go where we was.
You ready now? I feel like we could just mine that point some more.
Let's
I
go
mean,
there.
the way that we interact with the people around us is it's the outer working of what we know.
Absolutely.
Right.
And that is why there's been, I say it all the time. Say it all the time. Like, even in moments where you are feeling some type of just way towards somebody. I always tell people, if you start feeling some way towards somebody, like, call them up and be like, did God share something about you, about me to you? Because there's starting to be this brewing of a wedge in our relationship. And I'm saying that because Satan has become more aware of how God operates than we are.
Right. Okay.
And he's seeing that if I can get relationship issues, if I can get division amongst brothers, if I can get separation amongst in the body of Christ relationally, I can stop what God wants to do through their life spiritually. Like, if I can get y'all tied up and not knowing how to have healthy relationships, I can stop the plan of God of life for what y'all are supposed to do.
Right.
Like, y'all are focusing on the plan, but the plan will not succeed if you don't know how to have healthy relationships with one another.
Yeah.
And so it's like we skip that
Right. To get to the plan.
to get to the plan.
Right.
But the plan is only effective if we have the ability to unite with one another. And so we're good at hearing from God, but bad at restoring and living in relationships.
Yeah.
And we're wondering why stagnation is there. It's
Yeah.
because you don't even know how to coexist with people who aren't perfect.
Which takes us, I think about the first thought.
Yeah.
Right. The thought that leads towards those things has to be valuing or going back to knowing that this is the way my Christianity shows up more with how I deal with the people that are around me.
It's our love for one another.
Yeah.
how people even come to know who we are.
Mm-hmm.
They will know us by our love for one another, not the building you built,
Yeah. That's
not the
good.
car you're driving, not the receiving of whatever it is you were in faith for.
Right.
They will know us and recognize us. Our distinguishing characteristics as believer is our ability to walk in a love towards people that other people can't do without God in them.
Right. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
We have the ability to interact and relate to people beyond someone without the Spirit of God's ability.
Mm-hmm.
Like, it takes God living in you
Yeah.
to be able to live in moments that often you have to face relationally,
Yeah. Right.
right?
All the equipment that we've been given
Absolutely.
points back to relationships.
Absolutely. Right.
That's good. So there's a moment in the story and life of Jesus where he comes face to face with an individual who clearly understands how relationships,
Oh, you're going to let me get there.
right? He understands how relationships work. And just based on what we're setting up, what's being said so far, understanding how relationships work and the value of relationships is important to even understanding how your faith works.
Right. So that's
Here we
the
go.
setup.
Come on.
It's the alley.
We ready?
Pippen and Jordan on the field right now. Splash Brothers, Steph and Clay.
Yeah.
Right. But what Pastor Lamar is mentioning, and I've just been burning to get to, is there's only one time in Scripture we see Jesus say that someone's faith is amazing.
Mm-hmm.
It's only one time. Jesus says amazing twice. But there's only one time he says it in relation to someone's faith.
Mm-hmm.
And he called the faith amazing of the Roman officer.
Yeah.
In Matthew 8, he says, he meets this Roman officer who has need of what Jesus can only give, which is healing. And in that moment, Jesus, which is a popular account, many people have heard it, but it's the one, he said, well, where's the kid? And Jesus says, well, take me to him. And the officer stops him and says, you could just send the word from here. And he's saying this because, which I think sets the beautiful context for even understanding faith and how Jesus works with people. The Roman officer is saying this because he doesn't believe his house is a worthy place for Jesus to go to.
Right.
So he's already feeling as though, like, I'm not righteous
Mm-hmm.
enough for you to even come to my house.
Mm-hmm.
Like, my house is not a righteous place.
Mm-hmm.
However, there's something I understand about power and authority.
Right.
And what I understand is when someone has power and authority,
Mm-hmm.
it doesn't matter if they're in the room
Mm-hmm.
because their word represents their power and authority.
Mm-hmm.
And so he looks, okay.
Before you go to the next point, so right there, so this
Right.
Roman official, some of you may remember it because it's the centurion, right? He, by pointing out that, you know what, my house ain't even worthy for you to come.
Yeah.
It's also shows us the honor that he had.
Yeah.
Like, he recognized, he had some idea of who
Absolutely.
Jesus was.
Absolutely.
Right? He
Absolutely.
honored, it's
He
the honor
had
of
faith
Jesus.
in Jesus, not the condition of his house.
Boom.
In other words,
That's good. Right.
he had faith in Jesus, not the state of his own
Mm-hmm.
character.
Right.
Right. But he had faith in Jesus.
Right.
Right.
Which is, I wanted to make that point because, which is different from saying that I'm not worthy, so I'm not, I
Absolutely.
can't receive.
Right.
What he was saying, he was recognizing that he was honoring Jesus.
Absolutely.
The focus was on honoring Jesus.
Absolutely.
Not his unworthiness that would stop him
Absolutely.
from receiving.
Absolutely.
But I honor who you are,
Yes.
which then makes it better
Yes.
for me to receive what I
Right.
need.
He had Jesus in a position of honor.
Oh man, that's a good point.
He had him in a position of honor.
Mm-hmm.
And so he's not coming to him feeling unworthy.
Right.
Right. He's coming to him understanding the greatness of his love for people.
Right. Mm-hmm.
Right. He's honoring how Jesus operates.
Yeah.
He's honoring who he is. Right.
Oh man, I'm here. So another thing that this points out to us too is, you talked about how Thomas had to be real in that moment to reach
Yeah.
his hand out and touch Jesus.
Right.
He wasn't trying to shy away from his own doubt.
Yeah.
Right. He didn't feel called out and then get defensive. Well, the same with this Roman officer. He's recognizing. I recognize where I am in relation to who you are.
Yeah.
And this is basically like all of our story in salvation and moving forward in faith. It's a recognition of where we are in relation to who he is. Like what moved us from being unsaved to saved, we had to come to the point where we recognize that I need help,
Yeah.
but I recognize that you are the help,
Absolutely.
right?
That I need.
Somehow once we get on the road, we religion makes us transition to, even when I may need help, but somehow we stop seeing him as the helper,
Yeah.
and more like the judge,
Yeah.
you know. So I need help, but I don't see you as my help right now, so I'm gonna keep trying to help myself.
Which is what that is relationship issues.
Yep.
You haven't met Jesus yet. You're filtering your view of Jesus through how you probably have related to someone else in authority.
Man,
Like if the people in your life of authority are judgmental, condescending, critical,
Right.
then when you think of Jesus as your savior, you think about Jesus, you're filtering him through that.
right.
But that just means you haven't got to know him yet.
That's
once
good.
you get to know him, you know there's a different type of leader out here.
Yeah.
There's a leader who knows how to compassionately move you forward. There's leaders who know how to love you forward. There's leaders that know how to stand next to you in your worst moment and carry you through to your best.
Yeah.
Like, but if your whole life you spent dealing with leadership on the terms of just critical, condescending, just if that's all you felt, then that is the real wedge here. That is the real wedge of you being able to freely receive. There's a stumbling block based upon your own
perception,
your own experiences, right?
Right.
Your own man, and I'm just trying to make it clear because we preach about strongholds. Right. Well, what's a stronghold? Stronghold is just a mental framework that's keeping you to see something new. Well, where did that framework come from? It comes from what you've seen, what you've heard, what you've experienced, and because of what you've seen, heard, and experienced, a stronghold has been formed. Well, a stronghold is a mentality that has been fortified.
Yeah.
Well, how does it get fortified? Through what you've experienced.
Right.
So when Jesus comes and he says, I'm breaking down strongholds, he said, I'm breaking down the mentalities that have kept you bound through what you've experienced in life.
Yeah.
Right.
And your terms and conditions reaffirm your stronghold.
Absolutely.
Like the terms and conditions that you continue to establish, even in your faith, based on your experiences,
right.
just reaffirm what you came here believing.
Right.
That's good.
That's how.
That's good.
That's got myself in trouble. Oh Jesus! I think I want to get myself in trouble.
It's Thursday Deeper Dive.
Thursday Deeper Dive.
Yeah, Mitch got your back.
Let's get in trouble a little bit, right?
Yeah.
That's why oftentimes people try to pray people's stronghold off of them.
Yeah.
And it didn't break.
Right.
Because it's a mentality based on an experience they're having, right? So in most of those experiences based on their environment they're living in and the things they're seeing. So they got prayed over, so their heart was open, their mind was open to receive, but they went back to the same environment.
Yeah.
And the environment just kept strengthening the mentality that they already had. It kept just getting stronger and stronger.
Yeah.
Right? That's like once you got prayed over, you can't go back to the stronghold.
That's good.
But many people think it was in them, right? But it's a mentality from what you've seen, what you're experiencing, like what you're. It's a real thing. Is my point.
Right.
It's a real thing. It's yes, spiritually we could pray and it gives the opportunity for a softening of your heart to begin to see something new. But you got to realize the thing itself is real.
Right.
Right.
That's good. Two points I want to make. One, oftentimes when we read these accounts, when we see how, the Roman officer or Paul or
that's why Jesus would, just to give somebody some word, they're like you're just talking, right? That's why every time Jesus would heal somebody, say, now go and sin no more.
That's good.
I healed you.
Right.
But
go away from where you were.
Go away from where you were.
That's good. Yeah.
Unless you be right back.
That's right.
Right, because it's and this is Jesus, right? If anybody had healing power,
right? Yeah.
It's Jesus. Now go and sin no more. What is he
Right.
saying? He's saying, like, you can't return back to the stronghold. It's what you were seeing, it's what you were hearing, it's what you were doing. You are free now.
That's good. Right.
Who the Son sets free is free indeed. Right? But he says, go and sin no more. Go and no longer live beneath God's standard for you. That's I'm just breaking down sin, right?
Yeah.
Go and no longer because go and no longer live beneath the standard of God's will for you.
That's good.
Right?
Yeah. You know, most of the time we don't see the moment of reflection, like for these people. Like the Roman officer came knowing something because he had a moment where he reflected and was able to think about these things.
And that's what's amazing, right? You know, the amazing thing that Jesus was calling on was in that moment, the Roman officer says, no, Jesus, pause. You can just send the word.
Yeah.
You can just send the word. And he says, I know you can. I know you can because I'm a man under authority, but in authority. I know that you can just send a command and people will respond based on the fact that you are in authority. You don't have to be there. But what is he saying? He's saying, how I relate to others, how I've lived my life as a man in authority but under authority, I have related with people my whole life by sending commands,
Right.
not having to be present for things to change. I've taken how I've lived relationally with others, looked at you and said, man, through that lens of how I have related with others, I know you can relate.
Right.
And he says, you don't have to go, you can send the word, not based on what I've seen you do, but based on how I've lived my life.
That's good.
Jesus stopped in that moment and he said, that's amazing. The only time Jesus called faith amazing was in that moment. Why did he call it amazing? Because this soldier had the ability, regardless of where he was, to understand how relationships work. And he worked his faith through the lens of how relationships work.
That's good.
He literally said, based on how I've seen people relate and how I relate as a person, and faith works through love, faith works through relationship, I'm going to work who you are through how I've related to people. And I know you don't have to go nowhere, Jesus. You could just send the word. Jesus pauses and says, that's amazing.
Yeah.
Not because the man had 50 lessons on how faith works,
Right.
but because he could identify how relationships work. And if you are in relationship with me, then we can relate together based on how relationships work. And this is how they work
That's good.
if you got authority.
That's good. Yep.
I finally got there.
That's good.
And I think that's so critical because the Bible tells us every person has been dealt a measure of faith.
Right.
Every person has been given everything they need to believe in what God wants to do in their life. Everybody. God hasn't shortchanged anybody. Oftentimes, you know, I tell people all the time, that's the dangers of living in someone else's testimony. It's because you've been given the measure for your story. They've been given the measure for their story. But God hasn't left anybody sufficient with what they need to believe for what he wants to do.
Right.
Right. And
But that's another moment of first thought.
Right.
Like your first thought is something we say, but you have to have this. This has to be your belief. It's God hasn't left you insufficient.
he hasn't left
That's
you
the
insufficient.
first thought. Like if you receive that as true, then there's no situation that will come that you see yourself as insufficient.
Right. And I'm going to get into a little more trouble. We got 2 more minutes, right? But the fact of the matter is, once you've understood that, once you've understood that I have been given the faith for the assignment I've been called to, faith is not even a nervous thing.
Right.
Like, it's not even a nervous walk. It's a confident walk. It's a substantial walk. It's a walk that has foundations. It's a walk of courage. It's a walk of there's nothing nervous about anything you're believing in faith for. Why? Because I have been given the measure necessary for what I've been called to press forward.
Right.
Like I have sufficiency to believe in what God has called me to do. Like it's nothing, there's no hesitation. When there's hesitation, it's because we've we put our hands on our faith. When there's reservation, it's because we've been indoctrinated by bad teaching on faith. I can tell you this much, right? Pastor Poe was absolutely confident about everything he said that he was believing in faith for. He stood in the sanctuary, the size of one of these rooms around here,
Right.
and declared not one, but 3 truth domes.
Right.
3. And if you talk to him, there was nothing scary about it.
Right.
This verbiage wasn't even the stuff we hear tonight. Now I'm gonna step out here and say something. No.
No setup.
No setup, no drama.
Right. Right.
You know, no. All right now.
Right.
Get ready.
Yeah.
Get ready. Here it come. Like,
Right.
what are you doing? Because faith is truly responding based on the relationship you have with Jesus.
Right.
And when you have a relationship with him, you know that if he said it, he's going to do it.
Right.
If he spoke it, he's going to bring it to pass. Not on the basis of who I am, but on the basis of who he is. If he shares something with me, I have full assurance that I've been called to it. It's confidence, it's boldness. It ain't shaky. It ain't scary. It ain't none of these adjectives we've been hearing.
Right.
And the problem is if you
Go ahead.
it just ain't.
Yeah.
And we have to understand what is my heart right now. This is my heart. This is what I'm saying right now. I believe that there's a new generation of believers coming. Let's not introduce them to that crap.
Oh.
That's all I'm saying.
Yeah.
No, let's not bring them in the same way we're having to rework ourselves.
Oh man, that was good. I didn't know you was gonna say that, but
I
that was
didn't.
good. That's almost like
And,
we go back and say it.
You know, Jesus died for that.
Yeah.
Confidence. He died for you to be strong and courageous. Like, you know, just take your hands off of it.
Take your hands off his faith.
His faith.
Yeah.
It was a finished work.
Right.
And man, you ain't found it because you're scared of it. You found it because you're fully confident it's you. Like some people like, if it ain't scaring you, ain't big enough.
Right.
I'm like, if it's scaring you, it probably ain't God enough.
Right. Somewhere you're trying to live out your faith without relationship.
Yeah, if it's scared, God hasn't given you a spirit of fear. What? Like, how is it not big enough? If it ain't scaring you, it ain't big enough. But God hasn't given me a spirit of fear. Boss, did you know you just conflicted yourself?
Right.
If it's scary, it's because it's not God enough, not because it's not big enough. I didn't come here for this today.
That was good. That was good. Here, so we can conclude on this thought.
All right.
All right. You mentioned a scripture from Romans chapter 12.
Yes, sir.
Right? We know Romans chapter 12 is about renewing our minds. And, I feel like just encouraging people that, Jesus will walk with you through your mind renewing process. Like renewing your mind isn't something that you have to do on your own. You don't have to fix yourself. Like Jesus will walk through you through your mind renewal process. And just connecting that to the message, that's what we see.
Read it?
Yes, sir.
I believe if we just read Romans 12:3 after everything we just said, I believe everybody will be able to hear it and be like, that is what it just said.
Yep.
For I say, through the grace given to me, was that unearned, unmerited favor, not on my conditions, but on his life, I can say this. To everyone who is among you, not to think of himself more highly than he ought to think. Why is he saying this? He's saying this because, man, you could get caught up in the hype. And that's when you're like, if it ain't scary, it ain't God. You got caught up in the hype.
Right.
Right?
This is the reflection moment.
Yes.
Like, this is what it looks like to reflect. In the New Living Translation, it says, "Be honest in your evaluation of yourselves."
Yes. Like, that ain't me, boss. I'm honest about my evaluation.
Right.
You right. That ain't me.
Right.
You know, back to the don't take nobody testimony. I'm honest about what I've been dealt.
Yeah. That's just funny to me. That's
I'm honest about what I've been dealt.
right.
And that's what it's saying. Honestly evaluate yourself. Have you been given the confidence for that? Have you been given the assurance for that? Have you been given the courage for that? Have you been given, which is a whole nother thing, right? Oh man, that's a whole nother message.
That's good.
Jesus. Okay, let me stick here. But to think soberly,
Yeah.
as God has dealt to each one a measure of faith.
Right.
God has given each one of us the ability to believe,
That's good.
the ability to be confident, the ability to be courageous. He's given each one of us the ability to do that. So if be honest in your evaluation. If you're not confident, that means you're outside of what he gave you confidence for. But he's given you confidence somewhere, is my point.
Right.
There's somewhere where he has given you the supply
Right.
to be bold and courageous and to stand up and be assured and be everything he's called. There is a place.
Right.
But we keep thinking that it's the place is scary and we're chasing scary instead of confident.
Right.
When God's like, no, if it's scary, probably because you need to leave.
Right.
Because this is scary.
So you're not going
Right.
back. You're not going back to you.
You're not going
Find
back to
confidence.
you.
You're
I
going-
should feel like I belong where I belong, is
Right.
what God is saying.
Right.
When you get there, you'll know because you'll feel confident,
Yeah.
not afraid, not. Okay, now let me calm down.
You're not trying to source your confidence.
And I'm also saying that it's not only place, but it's timing. Because you could be in the right place, but in the wrong timing. But these aren't the. Anyway. But evaluate yourself. If it's, I'm also. This is the deeper dive, and every once in a while I say this. Let me just say this. I don't think I've ever said this, like, publicly. But I believe that my father and my mother have done, and of course my mother's continuing on, right? A work of building a body of believers. I believe that a part of my role isn't to come in and start from the beginning, but to teach based on where you've grown to. And so this is something that absolutely, if someone was new to the faith, then they should have they could have all types of mixed emotions. They could have all types of stuff going on. But a person who has been at Revealing Truth Ministries for any length of time, you know how to properly evaluate yourself. You know when it's fear. Not nervousness. You know when it's fear. You know when it's doubt, not questions. Evaluate yourself.
Right.
Now, if you was new to the faith, I would say, hold up, boss. Get you some community. Even mature, get you some community. But I would say, get you some counselors. Get you some folks, right? You need, because you're new to this faith. But as the warriors and soldiers walking around here, you know the difference between when it's fear.
Right.
You know that. And it's saying evaluate that moment. Right? Knowing that you've been dealt confidence.
Right.
Right? As God has dealt to each one a measure of faith, for as we have many members in one body. He's saying, like, there's people who have been, that's the part of everybody got a different story. That's what he's saying. But all the members do not have the same function.
Right.
So many members, but there's different functions. But every man's been dealt confidence. Everyone's been dealt confidence for their function. Evaluate yourself. It's a walk of confidence. And what else is Pastor Brian putting in that ring, right? So one of the Jesus, it's full zeros. We'll go there. I'm just, it's what it is.
We're here.
But this is good. So, right, Pastor Deborah's teaching on Sunday. So, next time we come back, it's a new series. So this is like my last little plug moment. Unless we bring it back in the blueprint, right? I definitely would bring this back in the blueprint, because one of the goals of Sunday's message, which I'm going to say this first, you have, if you're feeling like something is off in your faith, you have to go back to the one,
right,
who created it, who formed it. You got to go back to Jesus.
Right.
You got to go back to Jesus. You got to go back to Jesus, because he will help you with that. He will point it. But one of the things that we didn't talk about Sunday is to even give examples, right, of why we have to go back to Jesus, because there's things that can happen with our faith. And I'm saying this, so now if you are, all right, Pastor Brian, then why am I feeling the way I feel? Well, there's, in the point of this is say, it's not that your faith has gone away. It's not your faith has decreased or increased, because we understand now that faith is something that was given to me, and I'm fully sufficient. Then, Pastor Brian, why do I feel the way I feel about things that I'm walking in faith towards? Well, you need to go back to Jesus. But what a part of Sunday's message was to give you some common symptoms of where it could have happened to it.
That's good. Right.
Because it's still there. Well, number one, how are you dealing with people relationally? Because faith works by love. How are you dealing with people relationships right now? How are your relationships in your life? If you're fostering bad relationships, your faith is still strong, but it's hard to relate to Jesus in a way you're not relating to others.
Right.
It's still there, but check your relationships.
Right.
Right. Another symptoms. Right. It could have shifted. Could have shifted. Like you still have it.
Your faith.
Your faith could have shifted. And Paul speaks about this, right? And I said this on Sunday. He says, I came to you not with enticing words, so that your faith not be in me, but in God.
Right.
And what he was letting them know is, like, sometimes if something is presented so well, if something is presented so with such eloquence, that your faith could be in the speaker. Your faith could be in how well they said it, not that God said it. And you could shift your faith that God gave you onto a thing that was said well, but it actually wasn't in something God was doing. Just because it sounded good. So Paul said there was moments he intentionally did not say things in a way that would be enticing, because he didn't want their confidence to be in how he presented it.
So you're saying sometimes we can shift our faith to people.
Now you taking me down the list, and absolutely right. Which that is right. You can misplace your faith, right? You can misplace it. You could put your faith in a person. Understand, it's a gift you've been given. It's a gift, and God says His gifts are irrevocable. So you've been given. I just want people to understand what happened to them at salvation. You were dealt a gift of believing.
That's good.
Its intention was for you to use it to believe in God. But you can choose to put it in other places. Because it's a gift given to you. The same way someone has a gift to sing.
Right.
they have a gift to sing. They can sing for God, or they can sing for Satan. They can put the gift anywhere. And you've been given the gift of faith by God for the intention of believing in him and his son. But you can take that gift and put it in people. You can take that gift and put it in yourself. And a lot of times it's not that it's gone. It's just been misplaced.
Yeah.
It's not that it's gone. It's just shifted onto yourself. In the story that we were reading about the possessed boy's father, his faith, it wasn't about what he needed to believe. It was about what he had to unbelieve. Because you have the faith to believe. But oftentimes, you started to believe things that are working against the faith that you've been given. And so for him, he said, help my unbelief, because I do believe. And a lot of times, there's nothing wrong with your faith, is my point. But sometimes there's things you have to unbelieve so your faith can be pure again.
That's good.
But all of these was just said to say, these are just symptoms that you have to go back to Jesus. And he'll show you, if you ever as a believer are feeling like there's something I need to grow my faith, or my faith is little, or whatever it is. No. Don't put that label on it. Take it back to Jesus, because he gave you a finished product.
That's good.
And he'll tell you whether it was shifted, misplaced, whether it's something you have to unbelieve. He'll tell you whether it's how you're dealing with people relationally. But trust this, you have a finished product.
That's good.
And it's good. And it's everything I died for. And come back to me.
Right.
I'm the great physician.
Yep.
I'll talk to you.
Just continue doing this work in you that we
Continue this
started.
work. But understand that at no place that I just don't like, I don't know how to put into words how upset I get when thoughts are shared about how God feels about people that cast insufficiency in it. Like, no, no, we are his prized possession. And the Bible tells us he's given us all things for life and godliness. And he told us that he made sure we were sufficient for every work. And amen. I'll stop there.
Amen. That's good. Good. Let's end here. Today's Thursday. Tomorrow is Friday.
Wow, it was Vision Night. Yes, sir.
Tomorrow's Friday. Vision Night. 3 sessions.
Let's go.
5 o'clock.
5 o'clock.
6 o'clock.
6 o'clock.
7 o'clock.
Woo, we back.
Yes.
2 years away.
Yeah. We've been looking forward to it.
Yeah.
Highly anticipated night, Vision Night. Here.
I think last time I checked, there's over 200 people registered.
Wow, that's amazing.
Isn't that
God,
amazing?
praise for that.
That's amazing.
Good. Yeah.
Right? 200 people coming out to hear what God is doing.
And
man,
find their part in it.
listen.
Yeah.
Listen.
It's not too late to register.
Let's go.
I got a nod. Yeah. Not too late to register if you haven't registered yet.
Make us add a fourth.
Make us add a 4.
Make us add a fourth. Let's go.
Oh man, that's amazing. Good. So we'll see you tomorrow night at Vision Night.
It didn't say it had to be after. We maybe an early fourth. You know what I'm saying?
Okay.
Pastor Mark's like, I just got tired.
Well, we look forward to seeing you for Vision Night. Really, we look forward to seeing all of RTM Nation at Vision Night. Very important night to hear what God is doing and to see yourself being a part of it. And then the weekend will be upon us. If we don't see you here in the building, we'll catch you in the chat. Until then, know that we love you. Be blessed. See you soon.
Do they make a sound? lost for